If you're an American living abroad, this might be your last year there. That idyllic expat life you've carefully constructed? Well, it might be about to get a rather rude awakening. The world, it seems, is getting a little tired of us. Or more accurately, tired of who isn't from around here, wherever here happens to be. Why this sudden global spring cleaning of foreign nationals, you ask? It's a delightful cocktail of reasons. Some nations are citing economic pressures, claiming expats are taking jobs or straining resources. Others are experiencing a resurgence in nationalism, a sort of global get-off-my-lawn mentality. Then there are political shifts, diplomatic tit-for-tats where your visa becomes a pawn in a much larger game of chess. And sometimes, it's just good old-fashioned bureaucracy deciding that your paperwork isn't quite as charming as your accent. Countries are tightening immigration laws, making visa renewals feel like an Olympic sport. They're removing expats with a newfound enthusiasm and revoking visas with the casual cruelty of a reality TV show host. So buckle up, because we're about to take a whirlwind tour of 10 countries that might just be asking Americans to pack their bags and head for the nearest airport in 2025. All right, let's kick things off with country number 10, Japan. Japan, the land of cherry blossoms, incredible efficiency, and apparently a newfound desire to make life incredibly difficult for long-term foreign residents. Japan cracks down on long-term foreign residents. For Americans who've built lives there, who speak the language, who pay their taxes, this crackdown means their once stable existence is now perched precariously on a mountain of paperwork and uncertainty. The increased scrutiny means that any minor discrepancy, any forgotten document, could be grounds for a polite but firm sayonara. Japan, a country that can run a train network with nanosecond precision, suddenly seems to believe that the true test of a worthy resident is their ability to navigate a labyrinthine bureaucratic process. So, if you're an American in Japan, perhaps start practicing your apologetic bowing now. Next up at number 9, we have the United Kingdom. Post-Brexit, the UK has been on a bit of a journey of self-discovery, and part of that journey involves looking at foreign workers with a newfound skepticism. The Guardian rather soberly put it, post-Brexit UK toughens stance on foreign workers. For Americans who perhaps once found the UK a relatively straightforward place to live and work, the landscape is shifting. Securing long-term visas now requires navigating a complex points-based system. The increased scrutiny is palpable. It's not just about getting in, it's about staying in. So, if you're an American in the UK, you might want to start practicing your stiff upper lip. Sliding into number 8, we have Australia, the land down under. Australia has decided to get a bit less laid back when it comes to who gets to call it home. As ABC News bluntly stated, Australia tightens grip on foreign workers. For Americans who dreamt of sun, surf, and a sensible healthcare system, this tightening grip can feel like a sudden cold shower. The days of relatively easy entry and long-term stays are being replaced by a more stringent regime. You might find yourself subject to more frequent visa checks, with officials scrutinizing your every move. So if you're an American in Oz, it's probably a good time to double-check all your visa conditions. Coming in at number 7, it's China. Amid rising political tensions, China has reportedly been revoking visas and increasing deportations. CNN didn't mince words, China expels foreigners amid rising tensions. For Americans living and working in China, this is a deeply unsettling development. The ground rules now seem to be shifting dramatically and unpredictably. One day you're a valued employee, the next your visa is suddenly null and void. So keep your bags metaphorically and perhaps literally packed. At number 6, we find ourselves in Saudi Arabia, a kingdom undergoing ambitious transformations as part of its Vision 2030 plan. But part of that vision involves a stricter approach to residency laws. For the many Americans working in Saudi Arabia, these new enforcement measures mean a significant shift. The previously somewhat relaxed interpretation of certain regulations might be a thing of the past. Now, compliance is key, and the margin for error is shrinking. So, Americans in Saudi Arabia need to be more vigilant than ever. Our chilly journey continues to number 5, Russia. In recent times, Russia has been clamping down on foreign residents. BBC News put it succinctly, Russia clamps down on foreign residents. For any Americans still residing in Russia, life has become exponentially more complicated. Renewing visas can transform from a routine administrative task into an exercise in hope, prayer, and possibly a bit of groveling. So, if you're an American in Russia, you're likely already acutely aware of the shifting sands. Chapter 7, India, the bureaucratic elephant in the visa room. Swinging over to number 4, we land in India. India, too, has been revising its visa policies. For Americans who have made India their long-term home, these revisions can throw a rather large spanner in the works. The dream of a life filled with color, spice, and philosophical enlightenment can quickly be overshadowed by the reality of navigating a bureaucratic system. What might have been a relatively straightforward visa renewal process can now involve more forms, more attestations, more waiting. So for Americans in India, patience, persistence, and perhaps a very good local fixer are now more essential than ever. Chapter 8. At number 3, we arrive in Turkey. Amidst significant political instability, Turkey has been deporting foreigners. For Americans living in Turkey, this is a deeply worrying trend. The political situation can be volatile, and government policies towards foreigners can shift rapidly. This creates an environment where expats might feel they are walking on eggshells. So, for Americans in Turkey, the current situation demands extreme caution. Chapter 9. Dancing precariously close to the top of our list, at number 2, is Brazil. Economic pressures are leading to a tightening of residency rules for foreigners. For Americans who have been drawn to Brazil's infectious energy, this development is a cause for concern. Securing and renewing visas can involve more bureaucratic hurdles. The risk of deportation becomes a more tangible threat when rules are tightened and enforcement is stepped up. So for Americans in Brazil, it's time to pay very close attention to the fine print. Chapter 10. And finally, at number 1, the country that might surprise some of you, Mexico. Mexico has been enforcing stricter immigration laws. For the legions of Americans living in Mexico, this shift can be quite a jolt. The previously somewhat relaxed attitude towards visa runs or long-term tourist stays is being replaced by a more formal and rigorous approach. So if you're an American in Mexico, it's absolutely crucial to get your visa situation sorted. The vibrant culture, the delicious food, and the warm people are still there, but the administrative side of living in Mexico now requires a lot more diligence. Well, there you have it. 10 countries, 10 examples of how the world is recalibrating its open-door policy. From the bureaucratic labyrinths of Japan to the increasingly strict enforcement in Mexico, the message is clear. If you're an expat, 2025 might be the year you need to have a serious look at your paperwork. The dream of international living is fantastic, but it increasingly comes with an asterisk the size of Texas. And speaking of staying informed, if you found this mildly terrifying, but hopefully somewhat enlightening tour of global immigration woes useful, then you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. All the revenue this channel generates goes directly to charity. Don't be a monster. Subscribe, and we'll see you next time, hopefully with slightly less alarming news.